Hey everybody, Ronnie B, how are you? I thought I would just stop by with a quick video and show you how I am organizing and sorting and storing my new oxide inks. So I got some distress oxide ink pads, the Tim Holtz ones, and I have got a few different brands and different types of ink pads, and I have this particular way that I put them together with these stickers that I create using my Cricut. So I use cardstock, the sticker cardstock, and I type them all up and I print them all out as I've shown you in the photos that you might have seen on my posts. And then I cut them up into little sets and I ink them up using the color of the oxide inks. And then I attach them all, as you would have just seen with the lemonade. So I've got Tattered Rose done, and this is a Kaiser ink that I picked up as a one-off. I don't have any other Kaiser inks, but I just really love the colour, and it was called Denim. And hello, it's denim and lace season. Well, it's moving out of denim and daisy season, I beg your pardon. So I will show you how I do that. I'm just opening up Storm Sky, and this is one of my new ones. And I love these distress oxides. I love the colours that I've got now. There's so many different variations on the colours. It's amazing. So I've got my set of stickers and I made 5 labels for each colour. And I'll just show you the different tools that I'm using to put them on, or the different, tools, I guess. So I've got different blending brushes and daubers that I'm using. Plus I need one for the container ink pad itself. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking out the tools I need. So this has got a dauber, a full circular dauber with a foam pad, a small dauber or blending brush for colouring in, the little white one, and I'm inking up the foam dauber, and there's more ink on there than you kind of really think. So I'm just dabbing it. I found that if I use the brush and I scraped across it, I was smudging up the words from the Cricut pen, and so I found if I just dabbed this way, I could still see the words through, the text wasn't becoming smudged, and I get a really good look at the colour. So I've done 5 of these labels for each colour, and at the moment I've got a few spares. So already just for that one colour there, you can see I'm going to use 4 of them. For the small white blending brush, the black blending brush, blah, 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 the foam dauber, and the ink pad itself. So here's another one. Oh, I love this colour, Wild Honey. It's such a beautiful golden colour. And I get out a new dauber. So I'm going to colour up these labels, Wild Honey. I'm going to also label up an ink blending brush. And I won't have enough brushes to do this whole kit that I've got, or even daubers. So I will have to order some more. So I'm inking up this dauber. Again, it's just the foam one. Dab, 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 dab. And if I find, as I did when I began having to use the finger daubers, I can dab the top with a tissue and it will take some of the excess ink off. But this was a pretty good one, actually. It was much easier with the bigger daubers than with the finger daubers. So that's Wild Honey, and I just set that aside for a moment. There we go. Keep my brush with it, clean off my glass plate. And let's go back and have a look, and I'll show you with the tattered rose how this actually works. And we'll leave all these others here to set and dry. So I've got 5 labels, and so far I've got 3 tools there. So I'm going to put on first onto the ink pad. Now, I was originally labeling them with oxide or ox on them, but I decided I didn't really need to do that because the oxides come in the grey boxes or the grey holders. So I do put a little bit of tape over the top. It helps prevent any fading of the ink, and it's also with these oxides, they're quite chalky, and so it just prevents them from rubbing off, and it just keeps them looking nice. So that was one I did for the ink pad. Now I'm doing one for the blending brush. And these are my main 3 to start with. I mainly do, and again, I put some tape on there just to hold it onto the blending brush. Just makes it a little bit easy. Oh, I can adjust it. Look, you can actually see a little bit of that ink oxide sitting on top because it's designed to do that. It's designed to sit on top. It's the pigment that's designed to sit on top. Okay, so this one is now for the round dauber. So each set has an absolute minimum of the ink pad and the round dauber, but most have also got a blending brush. And I use them in different ways, and I know it's probably a little bit of overkill, and I may change it up, I'm not sure, because it could become quite expensive. But I use the round daubers for certain types of blending that I want to do, and the blending brushes just give it that really super fine. There you go. So there's the 3 labels for those main items that I'm using. And I might just see if I can grab, let me see. I'm just looking to see if I've got some of the other 2 items available that I would typically use, so I can create a whole set. And I'll just go off and grab a finger dauber. And hopefully I've got a little brush. I'll just use this one here. Okay. So I've got the long white blending brush. So that's fine and small for colouring in after stamping or maybe even after die cutting. So I've got one on that little brush. And I will need to tape that down because the Cricut cardstock's quite firm. Cardstock is quite thick and doesn't necessarily bend around rounded objects like this very easily. So I will use the tape on it. And also, it's just nicer to hold on to, that I'm not worrying about getting too much ink on my hands, which I have loads of ink on my hands at the moment after inking up all of those labels and getting all of the brushes and daubers ready. So there is the finer blending brush for colouring in and adding tints and textures and hues to, or tints and hues rather, to any die cuts or cards or backgrounds or whatever. And this one is a little finger dauber. Now, they're not all going to have all 5. Not every single ink pad's going to have, or colour's going to have all 5, but potentially they could. So, and again, this is a little foam finger dauber. And again, it's for smaller, intricate sort of spaces of working, and it just depends on how I want to really work with it. So I'll give all of them a little bit of a colour on the top, just so that, you know, it's all matched. And there's a little bit of colour into the brush, the blending brush. So yeah, there we go. So there you go. There's the 5 labels all used up. One for the ink pad, one for the small blending brush, one for the finger dauber and the round dauber, which I usually use for inking the edges of things, and one for the blending brush, which I often use on top to blend on top of products or items like that, bits and pieces. Okay, so that's the full set done in the Tattered Rose. A beautiful, soft, delicate colour. These are the ones I still have to do. There's a few there. Anyways, it's a nice afternoon's work, and luckily it's holidays because it's the only time I actually get to do anything like that. So I'm done with them. And these are the daubers set up. So I've got to get some more plastic containers, my yellow and orange. My pinks, I've got a couple of sort of deeper purples in there. A single purple, I need a new container, I've got a spare space. So my blues, and I need to do another label. I actually discovered a couple of those. So there's another one in the olive green. So there's my greens, and I need to get a few more round daubers for that. So these are ones, this kit and the next one, this one here, they're the ones I often use for my vintage journaling. I mean, you can use them for colouring and doing all sorts of things, creating pictures and images and colouring backgrounds and making backgrounds, but I typically use those for my vintage journaling, tag making, all that sort of thing. So then I've got a few sets of these brushes from greens down to my blues, and the smaller colouring in blending brushes in there as well. Then I've got some additional blending brushes. So there's some yellows and oranges. So they're the ones I'm sort of fairly typically using a bit. And move out the way, because here come the purples and the pinks, and I've got just really one little red sitting in there, but I've got a few more red colours that I haven't really used much, and I haven't blended them in the same way. And these are my vintage blending tools, blending brushes. So then I've got the daubers, and I've labelled most of those now, so that's pretty good. I can get to using those. I've got a whole bunch in there still that actually are not labelled, and they probably come from the teeny tiny little pads that I have. So here's what they look like. This is why I colour code them, because they're going to go and sit over in that organisational unit. So let's have a look at that. So here's spare brushes, and I've just put the extra labels at the back. So I'll just keep hold of those, and I'll make a few more as I go, as I need them, and pull them out as I get new, using new brushes. So they're my round daubers and my finger daubers. And here is a small ink stash that I've got. So these are just my very first trying at, well, actually I tried inks years and years ago, but in this season, I guess, these were the ones I bought first. They're just really cheapies, and there is a little, a couple of mini, more branded names, so the Versas are in there. So there are a couple of different sets, sort of what I was just trialing and starting out with at first. Then I've got my stays on, and they really stay on, like they really stain. So I've got to be really careful about using those. I've got a small collection of those. Ganache, I love Ganache. It's one of my favourites to use with the vintage journals. So I've got some VersaFine Claire's, and some nice little ones of that. That first one I just showed you, that's a really sort of inky, chalky sort of one. And these are just the inks that I've got, distress inks. And I've really only got 2 distress inks, which surprises me, because I would have thought that I had a lot more distress inks, but this is what happens when you sort things out, you don't. Some more VersaFine, the Kaiser denim was there. So that's my small collection of VersaFine Claire's, and my Kaiser denim right there. And here I've finally put over my blending brushes on the stand. And then I've got on this side here a couple of different styles of blending brushes there. Some pure palette. So I'm not so fussed on those. They've got a sponge base instead of the foam that Tim Holtz brand uses, the range brand uses. And that's them there. So all those grey packets there, they are all, or silver, they are all the Tim Holtz oxide inks. And this one here is Poppy Crafts inks, and you can water blend those too. So they're quite nice. I've only got a very small collection of those. And that's really about it. These are the labels I started with. They were in one big sheet, the large cricket cardstock sticker sheet. And then I cut them all out into sets, popped them on top of the colours that they belong to. And then I basically just started inking them up, and then just started labelling up the bits and pieces. So each set colour has 5 different options. And that's it from me. I hope you have a great day.